Wow, I did it again right off the bat. Welcome to This Week in the SFL, Week 10-9, Week 9 edition. Alongside Stephen Hacker, I'm Cameron Irvine. How you doing, Stephen?
Doing good tonight, Cam. Just happy to get this week started or wrapped up, so to speak, and get ready to on to the next week of football.
That's what Mondays are all about around here. Forget the start of a new week. Let's keep the weekend moving. We had some great games in Week 9. We had Indianapolis getting revenge. We had the Vultures circling once again, and heck, there's a revolution going on in Louisiana. But first, unbeatens are falling, and we start in Atlanta, who leads the show. Bullet Beletsky gets us going, and Bullet Beletsky gets Florida going, as he has all season long. One of only two long runs for Beletsky in this one. This is Atlanta already up 7-3 in the second quarter on Florida, but Beletsky gets Florida into scoring position. Coach loves that. Now inside the 5-yard line, third down and goal, 4:20 to go in the second. Florida still down 7-3. This was a slow-paced, slow-moving game early and often on the Florida offensive side. J.W. Doyle pushing the pile, and he's going to come up short of the goal line. Cree Higgins and others with a stop for Atlanta, and Florida has to settle for a field goal, made it 7-6. But in the third quarter, Florida gets moving. Beletsky, there's his second long run of the game, makes it 13-10 Florida. And at this point, it kind of felt like maybe Florida was going to take over this game, especially after Bryant Dynasty throws this pick to Adrian Blaine. And you're thinking, well, this is just kind of like the first meeting between Florida and Atlanta when the Storm pulled ahead late in the second half. Third down and 7 for Ron Cochran, and he fires into the end zone. Art Van Delay, 20-10. Hack, it's definitely over now, right? Atlanta 20-13, and down by 7, under 2 minutes to go, and this is when it started getting crazy. That pass caught one-handed for Atlanta. Now they're out of timeouts. At this point, Hacker, did you think that it was possible?
Oh, I thought it might be possible. You know, the hope was alive, you know, especially the Swarm. They're a dangerous team at home, and you can never count them out.
I don't know how Finnemore caught that. I still don't after watching the replay like 5 times. Gets it all the way down to the 21, under a minute to go. Still no timeouts. Pressure coming off that left side for Dynasty, but he hits Boo Chisholm on that one. So 46 seconds to go in the fourth, and Dynasty goes to Seeds Falco, his first catch of the game in double coverage right at the goal line. Could not be executed any more perfectly. Then on the next play, tie game at 20, Ron Cochran throws a pick. Sean Allen.
Oh no!
And that's how you do it. That's a sting right there, Cam. That's how, if you're the home team, that's how you get those victories, is your team steps up in critical moments and make those big plays.
Got it down to the 37, and then Atlanta ran for 3 yards, and everyone said, what are you doing running the ball with no timeouts? Setting up this field goal. Sammy Steele, 51, got it just at the last second with 13 seconds on the clock. That, if you're keeping track at home, ladies and gents, was 10 points in 33 seconds as you watch that ball just dip over the upright. So now Florida all of a sudden in panic mode. 23-20 down 3, last-ditch effort for Ron Cochran, and he way overthrows his target. Wouldn't have mattered anyway. Atlanta wins 23-20 in a stunner over Florida. Now to Portland, where Jay Mart makes an incredible interception for Alamo City in the middle of the first quarter, down 7-0. Now 7-7 in the second quarter, and Cyrus Jive is at it again, throws his second pick of the game. Bogey Barr with the pick for Alamo City, and it just looked like early on Portland was not going to have it. But on third and goal in the red zone, this was the difference in the game. Brody Goltz drops Brad Jones for a loss of 3, and Alamo City would have to settle for 3. Now 10-10 late in the first half. Cyrus Jive hits Israel Adams inside the 20. That makes it 13-10 off the field goal. A sack for Dale McClain on the outside on the next possession made it 3rd down and 12. Portland was bringing pressure from all over the place in this one, Hacker.
Yeah, and I think that was one of their keys to getting the result that they got in this ball game, was getting that pressure early and often onto Ace Finnick, and then not only that, it helped to shut down the running game, or at least slow it down some in this ball game.
Kendra Wells making up for lost time on that play. Alamo City got another field goal off that drive, and then Gunny McGuire with an interception. So another Portland turnover, but it's still only 13-13 halfway through the third. The fans can barely look at this point, but they want to turn around for this. 8 minutes to go. It hits Deuce Finnick in the leg, and Portland recovers down 3, and Ezekiel Love bangs it home and gives Portland the lead.
Yeah, it's such an interesting, decision there. The wind was in the face of the kicker. It would have been a long field goal, so they bring the punt team out, and then I think that the wind caught the punt, and that's what threw the returner off and what led to the muffed punt and a fortunate turn of events there for Portland.
Brody Gulch brings more pressure off the edge, and oh look, the fans are looking again. 3rd and 16, under 5 minutes to go in the fourth. Ace Fennick drops this one off for Brad Jones, and there he goes. Oh, man, Brad Jones, how'd he get out of that one? Past the 50 and down to the 35-yard line. Alamo City down 4 with 4:46 left. They've got a shot. Coach Soto liking it. They, with 2:53 left, go for the field goal here to make it a 1-point game. They kicked it deep and played defense, a defense that forced 4 turnovers. Hack in hindsight, it was the wrong decision, but can't knock them for trying. They just couldn't get off the field.
You got to respect the coaching decision there. You trust your defense to go out and get the turnover, or at least get the stop, like their defense had done multiple times in this ballgame. I mean, you see there both teams under 20 points late in the fourth quarter, and so it was a defensive slugfest. I don't blame the coaching staff for going with the 3 points to give their team a chance to fight through that one and see if they can get a win out of it.
But Love breaks that tackle, and he gets the first down. Alamo City burns their last time out, and Portland wins 20-19 in both Alamo City and Florida. Cut off from unbeaten seasons. 1999 Super Chat from Skippy. Have a great show. Say something nice about Skippy. Well, first off, you already made up for last week's miss of your Super Chat. This league needs more people and more wallets like Skippy Curtis's. That's what I think. But say something nice. Well, you did make me feel better in a nice Discord message. I have not been having a great day, but thanks for that, friend, always. Okay, Hacker, back to...
Can I throw one in?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I heard she makes an awesome spaghetti.
Yes, she makes a lot of things. The lasagna is excellent as well. If you're ever in Michigan, head on over to their house. She'll cook for you, no doubt. And Mia will probably set the table and say some nice things about you as well. So Portland beats Alamo City. Back to this game, 20-19. You see in the red zone, 1 touchdown on 5 trips for the artillery, despite winning the turnover battle. But I wouldn't have expected Portland to have over double the rushing yards as Alamo City in this one either. You were calling that game, Hacker, so how did you see this one go down?
Really, it was business as usual, I thought, on the Portland side offensively. It's going to go a lot to Ezekiel Love, and then they're going to kind of take whatever Cyrus Jive gives them. But for Alamo City, their rushing attack was kind of stagnant, and I think that's those blitzes from Portland. I think that was a little bit of a different element from them, and I think that caught Alamo City off guard and maybe got their passing game out of rhythm. The passing attack was working for Alamo City. There just wasn't that explosive play from Alamo City, and those plays were going to Portland, and I think that at the end of the day, that was the difference maker.
Portland took some risks on defense. They paid off. It's a beautiful thing to see that. That's not something the SFL has seen basically ever in a game plan. And so to see Portland pull that off and execute that was something special. 422 to 295 in yards. And Cyrus Jive gets bailed out by his defense. Okay, back to the Atlanta game. A huge stunner down the stretch. I want to, in my view, watching this game, Florida, 43 runs, 14 passes, but it actually totally did Atlanta a solid because Florida shortened the game. And you see the stats, they're almost dead even in the rest of the game, which shows that Atlanta can play with Florida, but Florida kind of bailed out Atlanta by being so conservative on offense, kept the game close, and Atlanta made the clutch plays in the end and got a much-needed win for the Swarm.
Yeah, and I think, again, that's some of that is maybe teams are adapting and adjusting, understanding, Florida can be a bit one-dimensional. I look down and use 14 passing attempts. Doesn't surprise me at all for Florida. So if a team can capitalize, learn how to use those counters to their advantage, yeah, Florida's putting themselves in a interesting spot. So I'd like to try to maybe challenge Florida to find something maybe a little bit more aggressive or risky in the passing game, so that they can find some explosive plays there, so that they can maybe, as the season kind of shakes out, and we're trying to find who's going to get into the playoffs. They've only lost one game, but if you go into the playoffs one-dimensional, you start facing the best of the best, you're going to find yourself home early.
Ron Haynes has been a brilliant target for much of this season. He was really quiet in this one, and Florida's got J.W. Doyle and Charlie Boletsky and a great offensive line, so it's tough to go away from that. But yeah, they that did him in against the Swarm in a really tight game. All right, so Packer, you know all about this game because Fort Worth is the only unbeaten left. No highlights because it was a rout. 52-24. Look at the rush yards. 277 to just 91 for Vancouver. And it's worth noting that Fort Worth had 52 offensive plays and 52 points. So I found that to be interesting. And the 24 points off turnovers equaled what Vancouver scored in the entire game. Pack, your thoughts on Fort Worth getting to 7-0 and another surprising 50-burger put on Vancouver's defense. It's really struggling. Back-to-back weeks, Portland and Fort Worth hanging 50.
Well, it's just nice to be where we are at this point in the season. I don't want to overinflate anything, or it's nice. We have a great locker room. We have a bunch of players on our team that believe in what we're doing. So for us to be where we are right now, coming off basically 3 weeks of really great performances, having no highlights at all on this show, we feel good about that. We would like to have some representation here, but we're happy to have the 7 wins in the column, no losses, and we're happy to go forward with that. Lewis, our head coach, been doing a great job putting in tons of hours switching over to this game, and so his hard work has led the team down the right path. Aaron Alexander and Marcus Dunhill and Jay-Z Bacon, Josh Zirkle have done a great job in the front office with our roster and cap adjustments and stuff like that. So everything's going really well this season, and it's nice to see all those decisions that were made kind of quickly in the off season. It's nice to see them kind of paying off here. So we're really, really happy to be where we are right now at this point in the season.
Vancouver solidly now third in the Pacific, and LA is right on their tail as well. From the unbeaten to the winless, or so they were. Let's go to Mexico City as Sioux Falls was in town. I don't know how Tyree didn't get sacked, and Kay Marion is missed by the hair on my chinny chin chin, I guess. That's a touchdown for Marion. She has been dominant this season in the receiving game. 14-3 Sioux Falls. But Ray Bentley may have a dad bod now, but he's still got some moves. Touchdown Mexico City. They're right back in at 14-10 in the second quarter. Fans loving that. Now 21-10. Jordan Sipe. Wow, nice throw low and away to Nick Lockett. 55 seconds to go in the first half, and Mexico City able to get another score. Those new cheerleader uniforms looking awesome there from the Aztecs. 21-17, Buford Van Dam. Get the big boy in the end zone. Diving and putting a hole in the ground. 24-21, Mexico City takes the lead. Tyree on a rollout finds Kay Marion, of course, down to the 1 yard line, and then 2 plays later on 3rd and goal, still not in the end zone and still not in the end zone. How about that? A 1st and goal at the 1. Goal line stand for Mexico City made it 24-24 with 5.5 to go. Jordan Sipe on a rollout, fires it out to Terrell Cooper down to the 9 yard line. 1st and goal, Aztecs trying to regain the lead. 3rd and goal from the 2. Could Sioux Falls return the favor? No. Buford Van Dam too strong. Mexico City retakes the lead. 31-24. Look at that. Chaz written on their chest. Chaz Blackwater, the kicker in Mexico City now. 3rd down and 10. 2:11 to go in the 4th quarter. Tyree got to make something happen, and he does. Joseph Budette. This drive was all about the unsung heroes for this offense. How about Ryan Davis? Initially on just kind of a flat route, then turns upfield and gets the touchdown. 31-31 now with 1:36 to go. Here's where it gets crazy, Stephen. Last play of regulation. Jordan Sipes' pass goes to Nick Lockett. The helmet of the defender touched the shoe. Otherwise, Lockett could have gotten up and scored on the last play of the game. So you're thinking, okay, Well, Nick Lockett's got to be feeling pretty bad about that. So what's he going to do? Start of overtime. Guess who's returning the kickoff? It's Nick Lockett from the 12, and Nick Lockett is gonna go. Oh, the way. Down, turning the corner. Look at that. It's a walk-off for Mexico City. Their first win of the season. They got it. 38-31. We'll get Hackers' thoughts on that game as we move along. Now to Tulsa. Crazy Friday night in the SFL. JQ to DJ Bandit starts us off in this one. More from Bandit, much more from Bandit later on in this contest, as Tulsa was trying to drop San Diego to 4-5 before their finally first bye of the season. Tulsa trying to get out of the gutter in the SFL standings at 1-5. You know who will help you do that? Gabriel Manning breaks a tackle. First punt return touchdown of the season, Hacker, 60 yards to the house.
He's just an explosive weapon. I mean, no matter where he is on the field, any point in time, as soon as the ball's in his hands, he's a threat to go for 6. And it's no surprise that the first punt return touchdown is an honor that goes to Gabe Manning.
Play action from JQ on the next possession. Look at all the time for Jay. Finds DJ Bandit wide open. Bandit gets out of bounds. 14-3 Tulsa after the Gabriel Manning kick return. That turned into a field goal. That turned into a touchdown for San Diego just before the half. Eagle Mondavi. Johnny Pickler, a rough first half, a brilliant second half, but San Diego's still losing. What a dot from JQ to DJ Hume down to the 1-yard line for the Desperados. And some teams late in the half down to the 1-yard line, things can get just a little testy. Not for Tulsa. Watch 82, DJ Bandit. No one covers him. Wide open in the back of the end zone, so Tulsa answers San Diego, makes it 24-10 before the half. Now 24-17, and Johnny Pickler could have tied the game, but Marco Swift comes out of nowhere. One of the best defensive plays of the week.
And a huge one there. I mean, Pickler was had himself a ball game in this one. So for your defense, step up there in the red zone and take that one away. That's a huge moment for your defense.
Woo, what a play from Marco Swift. Added that to 5 tackles on the day. Then it was Douglas Brown, who had a season high in rushing. Look at the 2 late blocks. I think Gabriel Manning was one of them. And then Douglas Brown makes Tom Krieg look silly and scores. Tulsa goes back up by 14. Man, they were on another level in this one.
That was mean. I mean, Krieg's got a family. You know, Doug, you can't be doing that to people, embarrassing them like that. That was a phenomenal move.
Matson got the ups, too, at tight end, so San Diego bounces right back. Johnny Pickler over 500 yards in this game, most in the SFL this season. Okay, so now handoff to Hunter McWaffle. All of a sudden, it's a 3-point game. 5:55 to go, 34-31. This has turned into a shootout. What is San Diego doing? Are they about to kick it deep to Gabriel Manning? Is Gabriel, he already has one. He doesn't need a second one. Gabriel Manning hasn't had a kick return touchdown all year until now. Gabriel Manning on the ensuing kickoff puts Tulsa back up by double digits, makes it 41-31. At that point, the ball game was over, and Tulsa gets the win, and they improve to 2-5. San Diego drops to 4-5. Now we go Sunday night to Indianapolis, where Minnesota and Indy were renewing a rivalry from week 1 when Minnesota hung 69 on Indianapolis. Colin Hart getting loose early in the first quarter, and Indianapolis is thinking, oh, God, here we go again with Colin Hart and this Minnesota Legend offense carving us up and down the field. Johnny Reno finds Quag Mam inside Vin Calya down inside the 2-yard line. And then Derek Genko gets hurt for Indianapolis. So it just seemed like everything was spiraling out of control after Indy got a big win last week against Denver. Handoff to Colin Hart. That's touchdown number 19 on the season in style. And Minnesota goes up 10-0. Now, early in the second quarter, it's Colin Pierce on a play fake me out too. Ryan Roosevelt, touchdown. That man was on fire in this one. That makes it 10-7. 4th and 1. Minnesota up 3 around midfield. They fake it, and Minnesota and it's dropped. They would have had the first down, and they couldn't come in. That's Adam Nold, the corner, playing special teams, knocking the ball away. And what does Indianapolis do? Christian Pierce turns it into 6. And from that point on, Minnesota looked bewildered in this one. Indy up 14-10 to start the second half. And boy, did Minnesota's defense need this. It's a fumble, and the Legend recover. Woo! At that point, it seemed like Minnesota was going to be okay.
Yeah, when your defense starts generating turnovers and helping your offense out when they're having a kind of a rough day, you love to see that, especially when Pierce was really getting a lot of love at that, starting to get a lot of love at that point in the ball game. So to force a turnover there was big for your team.
3rd and 11. Johnny Reno had one completion in the second quarter, needed this one. Clutch on 3rd down, nearly sacked, and that's Quagman with the catch down to the 18-yard line to keep the drive alive on 3rd and long. Easier said than done. By the way, love the Yeti scratches and the Legend Killer uniforms in this one. Colin Hart with touchdown number 20. He's 9 away from breaking a record that's been held since season 8. That's Marcus Allen Bosa's 28 rushing touchdowns in a season. Colin Pierce right back at you, gets into the end zone. It was overturned that he was down at the 1, but Indy scored on the next play. So 21-17 now. Look at Colin Pierce. Look at him shuffling in the pocket. I was so impressed with the way that Pierce was composed in the pocket in this one. Completes that one, and then on 1st and 10, they flip it out, and it's a fumble. The second fumble for Indy in the second half, and Minnesota has new life again. After it looked like Indy was about to take control, Minnesota just not going away. The Central Division leader trying to get above 500. They hand it off on a draw to Colin Hart, loss of 3. That would be big because it would force a 3rd and long on this drive for Minnesota. Johnny Reno would step back, throw a beautiful ball over the middle to Jay Taylor. Jason France, no targets in this game, really quiet. So Minnesota would have to attempt a 42-yard field goal, and Mickey Malillo's kick is stoinked off the right upright, and Minnesota would give the ball away and couldn't get off the field. Look at that. Christian Pierce, first down, and Indianapolis takes out Minnesota 21-17. Now, before we get to the Central Hack, I got to get your thoughts on the Mexico City first win of the season in overtime, 37-31. I just couldn't believe, first off, that Lockett fell and got touched down. I mean, just by a face mask plate, basically. And then to get an immediate chance at redemption, that was something special.
It's always fun, when you get those stories like that just happen organically like that with this league. It's one of the things that kind of keeps me coming back here year after year. But I think if I could, if Dags will allow me to get into his mind for a second, I've noticed him talk, throughout the season about how rough this one's been, and the expectation that they have for their organization, and to come out and start the season the way that they have. The end of that game, or the end of regulation in that game, I'm sure they had that feeling of like, here we go again,
yeah. Right?
And then to get that quick bang, return for a touchdown. I know that front office and that whole organization, all the way down to the locker room, down to the punter, kicker, long snapper, everyone really, deserved and earned that win. So congratulations, Mexico City. Super pumped to wait. I'm ready for them to get back to competitive. So that's the first step, and many more steps getting back to it.
We've seen a huge wave of emotions on special teams this season, Haggis, particularly this week. A lot of fumbles and touchdowns and all sorts of stuff. It's been
the fake punt and yeah, actually
that's true.
Pretty nice throw there from the punter. So maybe some teams need to start looking at that throwing accuracy and throwing strength there, because I mean if that 25 had caught that.
Mm-hmm. And Carolina scored a touchdown on a fake field goal earlier this season. So, yeah, we've seen it all. So, Minnesota and Indianapolis. Now, Indy's doing something. 2 in a row, 3-5. Now they're only a half game back of the division lead, because Minnesota still leads it at 3-4, but held to 249 yards. Minnesota, no turnovers in this game, played a clean game. But, again, just not a lot through the air, 102 yards of passing. Johnny Reno started the game 4 for 4, but he completed one of his next 7. They really struggled to get things moving on offense. I believe we're going to get to the schedules here coming up, but Indy's got Fort Worth coming up on their schedule yet. And
no, we've already played Indy.
Okay. Well, there you go. That's why I shouldn't ad-lib without the graphics being on the screen. But what did you think of this game, particularly Indy giving up 69 in week 1 and then only giving up 17 2 months later.
You know, Colin Pierce, 13 to 14, 198 yards is pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whenever most fans, I would think, or would think of Indianapolis as a team that wants to throw the ball. Ryan Roosevelt last season was somebody that was in the MVP conversation for his performance. And so, Roosevelt had 9 receptions, 173 yards in that touchdown. And that's what you expect from them. But what was really nice, I think, was the 34 carries, 164 yards, and 2 touchdowns from Christian Pierce,
Yeah.
the running back. And I think that's a big performance difference maker for them. Defensively, though, they found a different gear. And they're finding ways to disrupt the backfield, and getting back there. In this game, it was Adam Wiseman. He only 4 tackles, but 3 of those were tackles for loss. And then not only is he getting into the backfield, he's also dropping back in coverage. He had a pass deflection as well. So I think that's the key, is if you can mix up where your pressure is coming from and you can successfully get there and kind of disrupt the timing on run plays and pass plays, that I think that's leading to a lot of positive results for these defensive coordinators.
Tim Hackett in the chat. Sometimes he just makes me laugh. All right, we got a show to do. We got to move on. So Minnesota leads the Central at 3-4. Indy and Sioux Falls are 3-5. Tulsa is 2-5. Here's the remaining schedules of everyone in that division. Okay, Indy's got Alamo City next. That's a huge game. Then everyone else they have is under 500. They have 2 divisional games left. But when you're talking about having 3 games left under 500, Stephen, you've got to build a strength of victory here. If you're going to be 7-5 or 6-6 or whatever, if you don't win the division, things could get tough. But Indy's got a golden opportunity against Alamo City coming up. Yes,
and so why those strength of victory, why that's going to become more of a term later on in the season, is that's one of the later tiebreakers when it comes to playoff scenarios. So if you don't have that division win, or if you're not in on a division and you get rolled into that playoff, strength of victory is usually one of the most key metrics you can have in your favor. So this game against Alamo City for Indianapolis, I know that they're going to be taking it very seriously. I already saw some chatter in the Streets Are Talking server where head coach and owner were kind of going at each other a little bit. Now, you love to see that. You love to see the chatter early in the week. All these teams are locked in. They feel like their game plans are getting better. We're all learning. We all feel like each week we're improving on stuff. And so you love to see that. And I think that both teams are going to feel that pressure and that heat. And I think it's going to be a great game.
4 games left for Indianapolis, 5 games left for Minnesota. They take on Fort Worth in a couple of weeks. They have Mexico City next. That was flexed out of Monday night, and that is now on a Friday night. But they also have Arizona too at home. Not an easy schedule left for Minnesota, who all of a sudden just seems average after they looked. I mean, they were number 1 in my power rankings. Nobody ever asked me, but they were about 3 or 4 weeks into the season. But yeah, they've lost a little bit of luster right now.
And I think that they're going through some of the same identity issues right now that Florida might be going through. Maybe just a little too reliant on the run game. I mean, it's hard to tell teams when you're on pace to break records and shatter records at that to stop what you're doing. But it's also sometimes you have to take a long-term or a big picture approach to your season. And again, if you become too one-dimensional, for some teams, you become easy to beat. So it's just things to consider. I mean, do you want to chase those personal single season records, or do you want to, try to get a ring on your finger and a trophy in your coach's office? So it's just how you want to look at it.
Sioux Falls, they have 4 games left, 3-5. They have Fort Worth next after that devastating loss against Mexico City, and then they also have Alamo City 2 on their schedule. So when you look at Sioux Falls, they are 3-5. But with 2 games left against 2 of the top 3 teams in the league right now, it's a tough pill to swallow if you're the Sparrows. They're going to have to pull at least one upset.
Yeah, they're going to need to split that one for sure. And who knows where that can come from. At home against Fort Worth, on the road against Alamo City. So I think you would feel that the home game next week against Fort Worth is their shot. That's their opportunity to do it. But interesting to look at the end there. It's Indianapolis, right? A team we were just talking about. Can they stay hot? Can they go on a little roll here? And if Indianapolis is hot at the end of the season, that they got four tough games right there. So just depends on how the next couple of weeks go. But yeah, for sure, Fort Worth and Alamo City going to be a really tough test for them.
Now, this is where it gets interesting because hear me out. Tulsa's 2-5, but look at what they have to end the season. They don't play a single team with a winning record right now. They have 3 of their last 5 games at home. They've got 3 division games left, Indy, Sioux Falls, and Minnesota, more than any other Central team. It's possible, Hack. I mean, at least they don't have like a Fort Worth or an Alamo City left on their schedule.
Yeah, looking at that, I mean, I wouldn't say that that's a cakewalk or an easy stretch. That's more of a combination of gut punches.
Yeah.
When I look at that, it's you're gonna play Vegas, who's gonna run you. They're gonna try to grind the ball at you, and then you're gonna go to Indianapolis, who again is a team we're talking about on a roll right now, right? So can they continue that? What are they gonna get? Are they gonna get the good defense from Indy and that nice rushing attack that they seem to have found, plus the passing attack of Ryan Roosevelt, right? And then Sioux Falls is like up at the top in turnovers, so that's not an easy game. And then they've got an explosive offense at times. And then Houston is a team you can never count them out. They've got 2 explosive running backs, 2 dynamic wide receivers, and a quarterback that is not afraid to let it loose. So this is not, record-wise, it looks easier than I think it is. But I think if you look at the coaching staff and how these teams like to get after their business, Tulsa's got a tough matchup ahead.
The Central is wide open, and it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top in that division. All right, back to the highlights. Let's go to Washington, where Houston was taking on Seattle, and Doug Day was getting sacks with Seattle up 7-0. Doug loved to see that. Lost to 3 yards on that play, forced a field goal for the Headhunters, made it 7-3. Now on the ensuing kick return, Gus Scott from 3 yards deep in his end zone, and maybe he should have stayed there. Fumble! It's Houston on the recovery, and they've got the momentum and the football deep in Seattle territory. Williams with the recovery. Next drive, well, we'll get another look at that there. Scooped it up just barely. Next drive for Houston, it would be G.P. Wells on 2nd and short from 18 yards out. Finds some space on the outside, spins away, and just gets into the end zone right at the last second. Houston takes a 10-7 lead. That would be their only touchdown, if you can believe that. Type attack. On the next drive, looks down the field and finds the Queen. T to Queen for the first down. We continue the drive in the second quarter. Ty on the rollout and back of the end zone. There he is, Christian Bachagalupi with the touchdown. Seattle goes up 14-10. All right. Greg, same spot on the field, almost identical. Greg Corky, what do you got on the Houston return? Fumble! It's Seattle on the recovery. 2 kick return fumbles in this one early, and now Seattle has all the momentum.
There must be a magnet or something in the turf there that just pulls the ball down from these returners, because that was almost the exact same spot on the field.
Bet that wouldn't happen if they were playing on grass. 1st and goal at the 7. Hand off to Baloo Scott, and Baloo Scott's got a touchdown. 21-10. Seattle on top of Houston. Houston going to need some more points. Day Burr down to, you just got simmed. Forget Moss. Wow, that was an impressive catch down 8.
And he's a Hall of Famer for a reason. The guy can just absolutely go up and get it over anybody. There's no window that a quarterback can't throw into. I mean, just DR Sim is just that dude.
Amar Bryant Jr. was all over him. Sim near 100 yards now. 3rd and 4, down 8. Need a touchdown. Dave Burr's pass is deflected. Look at all the pressure in the backfield on him, so Houston would have to settle for a field goal. Now in the fourth quarter, Seattle not settling for a field goal. They get a touchdown. Gus Scott puts Seattle up 12 now. It was their largest lead of the game at that point. After Houston got another field goal, Baloo Scott got another touchdown. 35-19. This was interesting, Hack. Inside the red zone again to Mike St. Green, but Houston fails to get another yard after that play. And they kicked the field goal. It was almost like they conceded. We can't score inside the 20 against this team, so we're just gonna kick the field goal and get out of here. 35-22. Seattle gets the win over Houston. The onside kick would fail and the Nemesis go to 6-2. Houston falls to 4-4, and Ashley Jackson caught up with Fox Highwind after the kneel down and after another Seattle victory.
Welcome back to PGI, where I'm joined with a good friend of mine, Mr. Fox Highwind. He is one of the fantastic wide receivers over there at Seattle that just came off a fantastic win against the Houston Headhunters, 35-22. What is going on?
How you doing, AJ? It's good to see you again.
Hey, it's good to see you too, man. Y'all have been making some noise coming in. Now he's 62 and, number 4, I believe, in the standings overall for the league.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Fox, y'all turned it around. The Seattle's have turned it around. So what do you think some of the keys to success for them has been thus far this season?
Well, there's a mixture of a lot of things. For one thing, having Polly and Doug come into the owner's room has been big. Doug had dug very deep into this game, to the new system, the new engine, and he was far out ahead of a lot of things that I didn't even think of when everything was announced. So I think that helped a lot. TJ has been lights out as a DM. Ty is great at putting the playbooks together as a coach, and just we have a real camaraderie in the locker room that I don't know was here in previous seasons, but seeing as how we've got a franchise record in wins so far, all we can go is up, and we're behind each other 100%.
All right, then. So in this particular game against Houston, how do you think Seattle's defense was able to, really put a stop on their offense? Because they have known to be one of those high-powered offenses, especially in the ground game.
Now, as far as I've noticed, we seem to stay in the backfield most of the game. We didn't get a whole lot of sacks. We did get some TFLs, but we hassled Dave Burr all night. And that just goes to our defensive line that, is just lights out and has been getting better every week. And I think that they were forced to kind of come out and throw early and stop going to Wells and to Slap. And we contained them pretty well.
That you did, and I admire.
They kicked a lot of field goals instead of touchdowns, and field goals don't win games.
Hey, I mean, unless you're tied and it's the last,
That is true. I mean, but when team's scoring touchdowns, then, you got to score. You got to keep pace by scoring touchdowns yourself.
Absolutely. That's the secret to success. And you guys are doing fantastic. And it shows that the coaching has taken a fine-tooth comb. It seems like every week there's a different look. Every week you guys are adding to the repertoire that you already have. So I think that's the key to success, especially with a new game. It looks like Seattle has been acclimating just fine.
Everything kind of came together in the offseason. A lot of pieces got filled that needed to be, and we had the right personnel in place and adding to it all the time. And I mean, this is just the beginning. We still have work to do, not just this season, but in upcoming seasons.
Well, you're definitely on the right foot, so keep it up, y'all.
Thank you, AJ.
You're very welcome. Back to you in the booth.
Thank you, Ashley, for that post-game interview. Back to the highlights. There you go, Tim. We're going to Queen City, where the Queen City Corsairs were hosting the Canton Classics in a rematch. This was a stunner after Queen City got boat raced 30-7 last week. Doug Spelling doing his thing there, made it 10-0. Robert Johnson gets the first down late in the second quarter, but Canton needed a little bit less of that and a little bit more aggressiveness on offense. Nobody's really passing against these Corsairs, but look at that. Nice little pick route there. Gets Doug Spelling wide open. That is about as wide open as a receiver as you're going to see in the SFL. 17-3. Queen City. Scar Patterson down the field. Ryan Owens, there you go, down 20-3, but there's only 5 minutes left. Patterson rolling to his right and finds out Dillapre, 20-10. Okay, Canton climbing back into it. Now they just have to get off the field. Trellis Blanton, Jet 0, 1 missed tackle, 2 missed tackle. That's a killer. Jet 0 gets a first down into Canton territory. 2nd and 5. Just got to get off the field. Just got to get off the field, get the ball back. Jet 0, nope, not going to happen that time. First down. This is what Queen City does, man. It's not flashy, but they are very underrated right now, Stephen.
Yeah, and whenever they can get Trellis Blanton playing like he played in this ball game, that's just extra for them because, again, I think Queen City is one of those teams that kind of goes as their quarterback goes. You know that Jet Zero is going to get a lot of love. You know their defense is going to be opportunistic. It's just what can Trellis Blanton give this offense? Can he give them that extra push?
Brandon Ewing with the pick after Queen City got the field goal, and that seals the deal. 23-10. Queen City wins the rematch over Canton, drops the Classics to 4-4. More on that division later. Now to Carolina. This one, if you missed this game this week, you may not have gotten all the talk in the chat, but it was a pretty great game. Matt South there to Xavier Solomon in the back of the end zone made it 7-0. Then Dwayne Salmons comes right back. Louisiana gets a touchdown, makes it 7-7. Salmons with a dance extended in the end zone. Matt South now rolling to his left, and Brian Craven brings him down to force a 4th down. More from Craven later, an unsung hero in this one. 7 seconds to go in the first quarter. Louisiana and Carolina still tied, and Tommy Utah going to throw a pick to Danny Stinson, who tipped it to himself. Pick 6, got around Utah and scores. Touchdown, Carolina. What a pick 6 for the linebacker. Get another look at it.
And that's just a fantastic. Danny Stinson's been playing very, very well this season. He's a veteran in this league, and that just shows his presence there. Yeah, he did that just to buy himself an extra time. He just needed another step to get there, so just got a finger on it just to keep it up in the air a little bit longer. You love to see it from the big men.
Carolina up 14-7 and feeling good at home. A minute later, Tommy Utah drops back, fires to Cameron Collier, who's one of the best pass-catching fullbacks in the league, a staple on this Revolution offense. I just love how many people get involved on this team. Chris Grant Jr. gets a first down there inside of scoring position. And then it's Tommy Utah to Levy Lease. Touchdown with 6 minutes to go in the second. They're hitting everybody. 14-14. Louisiana right back in this thing as Levy celebrates with his teammates. Tommy Utah dumps it off. Cameron Collier out of the backfield. Didn't have to make anybody miss. Touchdown, Louisiana. And early in the third quarter, the Revs all of a sudden have sucked the life out of the building. 24-14, but right back comes Riley Quintero from Matt South. 24-21. It's a nail-biter late in the third. The fans love it. Now 27-21 late in the fourth quarter, trying to make something happen. Chase Earl gets him inside the 20. Carolina's got a chance now to win this. Still 2 timeouts in their pocket. South looking for Harish Prasad, and it's picked. Rolliman Hood at the 3-yard line, and we'll see on the replay. Brian Craven was applying the pressure hack, and it was a long developing route, a double move. The throw came too early, and Rolliman Hood opportunistic.
And look, we're going to see this again.
Yeah, you can see there in that replay that Prasad on that double move didn't have time to get his head back around, and the whole time Hood just kind of had him in his front pocket, and so while Prasad had his head, upfield trying to find out where the open space was, Hood was just playing the receiver. And so he had one eye kind of in the backfield. And then when the ball was released, Prasad wasn't ready for it at all. And just unfortunate, Carolina just right here on the cusp of having a really nice season, building on what they had last season. And, you hate to see it. You don't want to say that it's crumbling away from them, but they got to be careful, that this is the best start to a season they've had, and they need to keep rolling with it. But it's just little things like that. This always kind of seem to kind of bite Carolina as the season goes on.
More on the Atlantic in a moment, but first back out west as Los Angeles was taking on Arizona, and Sully Richardson finds Jack Flash over the legendary Eddie Gage, who makes the touchdown-saving tackle on LA's opening series, and then Logan Jack would finish things off for LA in their moonlight jerseys at home, looking sharp in the all black. Touchdown LA, trying to extend their winning streak to 2 as DJ Moses swan dives into the end zone late in the second quarter, ties the game at 7. This was a very defensive football game all day long. Next possession for LA after a 1-yard loss. Sully Richardson drops back to pass, and he fires it down the field. That one is caught by James Foster. Tight ends making an impact early in this one for LA. Sully Richardson, there he is. Chris Lee, their number 1 target this season of the wide receivers, makes that play. LA gets a field goal. 17-7. LA on top, and DJ Moses finally got it going. LA, who's had the worst run defense through the first half of the season, did a pretty decent job on Moses, but Justin Williams, the fullback, who's set an SFL record already for rushing touchdowns in a season with that touchdown catch, makes it 17-14. Now Arizona into Los Angeles territory after a stop. That's Donnie Hands, 2:23 to go in this one. DJ Moses breaks a tackle, but is going to be short of the first down inside a minute to go. Now watch this hack. Down 3 in field goal range. Arizona says, screw that. We're going for the win. Trying to get a touchdown. 23 seconds to go in the fourth. On 4th down and 1, they're going to hand it off to Moses, and Moses is loose off the left side. He almost scored, but brought down to the 9-yard line. They would end up kicking a field goal, and we would go to overtime. But Sully in OT, too cool for school. He threw that right over J.R. Lawless into quadruple coverage. LZ Pryor with the catch, and it would be Sid O'Lindy from 41 yards away just a couple of plays later to give LA another W. Book it. LA 2 in a row over Arizona. My mind's drawing a blank now. Who they beat 2 weeks ago?
LA?
Yeah, who'd LA beat 2 weeks ago? I don't have it in front of me. They got 3 wins now. Let's get to some of the hottest teams in the league, including Los Angeles. But let's go back to Louisiana. They are 5-3, and here's some of what's made them so great over the last month of the season. They have still not been turned over in the red zone. They have 100% scoring in the red zone this season. Dwayne Salmons, 1,224 all-purpose yards. Tommy Utah taking care of the football, 10 touchdowns to only 6 picks. They have rival Atlanta next. What's impressed you the most about what Louisiana's doing?
I think anyone that can score 100% of the time when you get inside the 20, you'll take that. I think any coaching staff would love to have that be in their favor. And, Louisiana being the only team right now to still have that under their belt, that's a huge notch to them. Last couple of weeks, I'd say their running game has looked really good. The owner, Gerald Smith, has said many times that that was probably the best decision he's made this season was let Coach Brian Craven take over and really let him loose. And look at him go. I mean, they're having a great turnaround since they let him take control. And that's what you love to see when a guy gets an opportunity, they take the reins and they roll with it. So keep doing what you're doing, Louisiana. 2
teams off a win, Louisiana and Atlanta next week. All right, the Queen City Corsairs are 3-5. They've won 2 out of their last 3 games. They have the number 1 pass defense in the league. They give up just 145 yards per game up to this point. As we mentioned, nobody's really testing that secondary. Look at the balance. Doug Spelling, 686 receiving yards. James Matthew Jr., 685 receiving yards. They are at Baltimore next. That's a tough task. But Queen City definitely playing their best ball right now.
Yeah, and another situation, too, where you want to say, man, let the coaching staff work. And they're cooking, right? A little bit of a misstep there in the Canton game last week, but quickly corrected that, right? And you love to see that. Again, that shows some growth from your coaching staff. It shows some attention, right? That they're aware that, hey, what we rolled out last week's not going to get it done. We need to get to work, right? So credit to Tom Welsh there for putting in the work. One of the big things, again, at Queen City, I think they got to find consistency from the passing game. I think that what you're going to get from Jet Zero. I think it's really going to come with Trellis Blanton not turning the ball over because the rest of the team pretty rock solid, pretty consistent. You know what you're kind of get, you know what you're going to get from them week in and week out.
So let's look at Queen City. LA coming off a win against Houston and Arizona in back-to-back weeks. They are 3-5, and when you look at LA, they are just clean. 2 penalties for 20 yards in the league through 8 games. It's shocking how well coached they've been over the first couple of months. Richardson keeping it clean, 11 touchdowns to just 6 picks. Garrett Hudson, man, he's a force, 14 TFLs on that defense, getting into the backfield. And LA at Seattle next week. That's going to be a real good ball game out there in the Pacific.
Yeah, that was one of my potential game of the weeks in the Say With Your the Talk Streets Are Talking server. Definitely one to keep your eye on, but Sully, I'm sure, is extremely happy to be plus right now in the touchdown interception ratio. So that's a category he has struggled in throughout his career. So I'm sure he's happy to with the offensive coordinator, got him really working, firing on all cylinders. 2 penalties, you got to love that. That again, that shows that your coaching staff is putting in the work and practice. Your team is disciplined, and on game day they're ready. They're not overreacting. They feel confident. They feel comfortable, and they know what their job is, right? And so LA is one of the teams over the last couple of weeks really has, I think, turned a lot of heads. Teams that are coaches are starting to look towards the West Coast a little bit, and I think that that's kudos to LA's coaching staff.
You got some teams surging. We've got playoff standings coming up after we get to the last couple of highlights that we haven't gotten to touch on yet. We go to Detroit last night, where the DC Dragons have a tight end by the name of Lauren Percoco, and she just may be the best darn tight end in this whole league. She has just been balling. Shabazz Synergy on the next drive, not as good. That is picked off by Vasquez. That gets the V8s rolling, down 7-0 at home, trying to get to 5-3 and retake the lead in the Central Division. Bill Cherry, pardon me. Oh, that's just rude with a capital R. Motor City would get a field goal out of that drive. On the ensuing kickoff, Sam Harrison on the return for the Dragons, and he fumbles. Picked up by Motor City. Actually, the V8's got a touchdown on that initial drive. My bad. 7-7. Motor City takes over, gets a field goal off of that drive. There it is. 10-7 V8s. Best catch of the week, I think. The highlight just kind of jipped out on there on us. That's just not fair. Josh Gill, toe tapping in the back of the end zone. Wow, Coach Mullinex looking sharp. 14-10, DC on top, and that is picked off, and this is going all the way. Jermaine Smith in the game chat last night said, now we're just beating ourselves, Hack, and they were in that first half.
Sometimes it can be that way. You can kind of get in your head, and I think that's maybe a little bit what happened to Houston too, whenever they just kind of elected to go with that field goal. And I think sometimes you can just kind of beat yourself, and I think that was what the DC Dragons got a case of here just through this little short stint.
Just before the end of the first half, Motor City started to beat themselves. Shabazz Synergy off the DeSantis interception gets it out to Josh Gill, who stops the clock, and then Synergy right on the goal line hits Lauren Percoco. Just an incredible catch. Her second touchdown of the game, and DC had nearly put up 30 in the first half. 27-17. The Dragons would lead at the break. Motor City would not go away, but Chuck Steller making things happen with Kevin Say injured for the second week in a row. Steller gets in the end zone, 34-20. Now Ibrahim Creata on a rollout, hits Phil Koss for the touchdown. Makes it 34-27. This game is now officially a shootout. Fourth quarter, right back, DC comes, and it is Chuck Steller with back-to-back touchdowns, 41-27 DC. Another look at Mullinex again pulling off the Ditka look. 4:46 to go in the fourth. Down 14, third down and 10 for Motor City. Time starting to run out on the V8s at Bank Michigan Stadium. That pass is, whoa, that is picked off an O'Rourke tip right over to DeSantis, and that is once again an interception for DC. They would win that game going away, get to 4-4, and we got one more highlight. Baltimore hosting Jacksonville. Because of the Carolina loss, Baltimore trying to take hold of the Atlantic Division, take first place. T. Roy Gaines gets a touchdown. It would be the T. Roy Gaines show all day. O.J. Bruin picked off there by Frank Smith. Still don't know how Frank Smith came down with that one. 7-3, Baltimore back to work. Oh, get out of here with that. T-Roy Gaines with touchdown number 2. That was just ugly.
And that's what you expect from T-Roy, though. He's a punishing back. He loves to send people to the shadow realm, and I can just hear him laughing all the way to the end zone on that one.
O.J. Bruin just smacked by Al Walker in the backfield. Makes it 3rd down and 19. You don't like to see that from O.J. Bruin, but then he can do things for you like this. Bruin escaping to his left, and the lefty hits Kingston Ellington for the first down of the 43-yard line, and that keeps the Jacksonville drive alive. Turnovers have been the bugaboo for Jacksonville. Otherwise, they've been a pretty good squad. David Gears in the back of the end zone with the score, makes it 14-10. Jacksonville right back in it, but T-Roy Gaines, oh my gosh, T-Roy Gaines with touchdown number 3. Does this guy play for the Dolphins? Touchdown, Gaines, and he goes up, puts Baltimore up, 24-10 in the 3rd quarter, his 3rd touchdown of the season. I hope that paint comes off. 3rd and 11, O.J. Bruin deep down the field. That is hauled in by Ellington for a first down, so Jacksonville hanging around, keeping this game close. This is just a sick catch.
Yeah, and these wide receivers are getting more and more aggressive, going up and trying to make these highlight plays, and it just seems like each week they're trying to top each other.
Bruin, another touchdown to Connor Weston, so right back comes Jacksonville. 24-17, it's a ball game. 9 minutes to go in the 4th. Look at Jacks, they're nearly in the red zone. And then O.J. Bruin just tosses it right to Elijah Warfield. Just a total miscommunication with Jim Copeland Jr., and that has just been what is crushing the Kings right now. And T-Roy. T-Roy's also crushing Kings. T-Roy gets out of the backfield. Another first down. He was the MVP of this game by far.
Yeah, and just a steady rushing attack. And, Baltimore is quietly, how can you say the reigning champs are quietly having a season? Everybody's got their eyes on them. But just kind of hanging out in the middle of the pack, this season, really haven't asserted any kind of dominance, but really have found something, I think, in the last couple of weeks. Letting the other teams kind of beat themselves. They just kind of steady as she goes. And I think that's going to be the key for Baltimore is they just need to keep finding ways to win games, and they're going to be right back where they expect themselves to be.
Gains 4 scores. Jacksonville gets another touchdown late, but it wasn't enough. All right, time to, as we get ready for our Monday Night Spectacular from Denver, Vice Wars 14 between Vegas and Denver tonight. It's going to be a fun game. You and I are on the call for that one. Let's take a look at the updated road to the championship presented by Zolnir. And Fort Worth is now your lone unbeaten at 7-0. That SOV leaps up to 370. Florida has the lead on Alamo City because they are a division leader, so that puts them as the number 2 spot at 7-1. Seattle now all alone at 4 at 6-2. Baltimore has risen. Baltimore and Arizona back in the top 6. Your last 2 championship matchups, both at 5-3. Louisiana 7th at 5-3. Only 7 teams right now in the SFL with a winning record. And some new faces on this board. Portland, number 10, after their big win over Alamo City. They leap to 4-6-4 and get the 10 spot right now. Minnesota, because they're the Central Division leader, have the 12th and final spot. And LA creeping up there into 17 tonight on the Monday Night Spectacular. Vegas is 16th. Denver's 1 spot out at 19th. Huge game. What stands out to you most in the playoff standings as we get into Week 10?
Now starting to see some of the familiar faces, or at least some playoff experience, starting to creep their way back into the picture. And that's only going to continue to happen. These divisions, there's a lot of movement that can happen. And I think the thing that stands out most to me, again, is looking at the strength of victory, because I feel like, just in my experience, those are the biggest. That's what's going to settle things the most at the end of the season. So those are the things to keep an eye on. Seattle has beaten a couple of really tough teams, so that's going to put them up at 488, and that's kind of where you want to be. If you can be somewhere in the high 400s, you're in a really good spot. The closer to 300 or below 300, you may find yourself kind of on the outside looking in some tiebreaker scenarios. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Portland over there sporting a 464. They could use some help from their division if they want to try to sneak in and win that thing from Seattle. they could use some help in their division if they could sneak in a couple of wins and help strengthen their strength of victory.
And the best SOV on the board is LA, 518, and they have Seattle next week. Wow, they could really set themselves up really good.
Yeah, a win with Seattle would be really nice.
That's 4-4. That would be crazy. All right, your Monday Night Spectacular is coming up as we have successfully wrapped up week number 9, and we've got one game left. It's Vice Wars 14, Denver and Las Vegas. Here's a look at some of the key numbers tonight. Denver leads the all-time series 7-6. Vegas got the win a couple seasons ago. Denver got the most recent one. How about this? 13-plus point losses this season. 0 for both these teams. They've been in every single game. Every game has been a close, tightly contested contest. Third downs, both teams have been really good, especially Vegas. They converted all but one against Arizona, second in the league on third downs. And how about that kind of bonkers stat hack? 29 punt returns for Vegas. What does that mean? That means they are forcing punts early in downs, right? Because they're able to return more stuff. Denver with only 12. Points off turnovers, 42-7. Like, how does Vegas only have 7 points off turnovers? That's going to be something that we want to watch tonight, trying to take advantage when their defense actually does force a turnover and get a stop. What sticks out to you? What are you most looking forward to tonight on this Monday Night Spectacular?
One of my bold predictions in the Streets Are Talking last week was I felt like there's going to be a healthy volume of carries in this ball game. Both of these teams love to grind the ball. They're going to try to deflate the ball and just run it. They're going to try to keep it on the ground as much as possible. So I think it's the key to the game for me is going to be third down conversions and which defense or which special teams unit can get that big play, because I think that's what it's going to come down to. I think both teams are going to be able to run the ball pretty well. I think that their game plans are going to work well offensively, but it's which team can dig down and find that special play, that special moment, and I believe that's going to be the difference maker. Because that's Vice Wars. I mean, that's this kind of game, that's this kind of atmosphere. It's going to boil down to one big play, one big moment. And that's what's the beauty of Vice Wars.
Yeah, we can certainly hope so. Aaron Gooden, Justin Reside in our stats truck, Chris Curtis, Tyler Falk back in SFL Studios. The gang's all here. Stephen Hacker and I are going to be calling it very shortly. Denver, Vegas, we can't wait. Vice Wars, the winner gets to 4-4 and dramatically boosts their playoff hopes. This has been This Week in the SFL for Week 9, and your kickoff in the Monday Night Spectacular is coming right up.